Hey everyone, we are live at 5. It's Friday, October 19th, and I'm Paul Montori.
I'm Beth Stevens.
And that's Caitlin Moynihan.
Hello.
We have really cool guests today.
We have really esteemed guests today.
Yes, we do. Okay, so Lifespan of a Fact. You've all heard about this new Broadway, new American play that opened last night on Broadway. We have John D'Agata and Jim Fingal. It's their story. We're going to talk about the whole thing. The play is based on their fantastic book. Can't wait to dig into it with them. But first, today's top 5.
Someone else is joining the Jellicle Ball.
I know we have a Cats movie story for you every day. This is a good
one.
one.
A lot of cats. There's a lot of cats in that.
There are a lot of cats in Cats, which is apparently going to be a movie, which we're still trying to figure out. Tony winner and Oscar winner Judi Dench has joined Cats as Old Deuteronomy.
She would have been a great Gumby cat. But Old Deuteronomy's fine too.
Okay. Calm down.
Jenny Annie Dots.
Jenny Annie Dots. Thank you for that. I was going to have a problem. Anyway, so here's a fun fact. Judi Dench was cast in the original Cats back in 1981 as Grisabella, but she didn't end up doing it because of an injury. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about.
So she's playing God. Deuteronomy is like the God character.
Really, you're just going to lay it out
spoiler.
like that? It's
spoiler
these are
alert.
metaphors. Okay, whatever. Directed by Tom Hooper, choreographed by Wayne McGregor. Film is slated to be released because they're going to release it because it's real. December 20th, 2019. Apparently, she is joining Jennifer Hudson, James Corden, Ian McKellen, Taylor Swift, Laurie Davidson, and Idris Elba. It's real.
It's happening.
It really is.
Not since Daniel Radcliffe, Bobby Cannavale, and Sherry Jones decided to get together to tell a story. Has there been such an exciting cast?
Yes. And this musical is getting its own cast record and it hasn't even opened yet.
The Prom.
I'm excited for the Prom.
It starts next Tuesday on Broadway, finally. I got to see it down in Atlanta, and you're in for a treat. This is a really fun. You saw it too.
I did.
We saw a rehearsal together. It's
Yes, we did.
a brand new musical comedy, and they're making an album of it, and it will be available digitally on December 14th. And if you need the physical CD, if you have a place to do something with one of those things, I do not. That's available January 11th next year, and it's on Sony Masterworks Broadway. The show has released the song You Happened, and you can stream it right now. This is, of course, Casey Nichola's latest show. It's written by Matt Sklar and Chad Begulin, booked by Bob Martin and Chad Begulin. Anyway, it's fantastic, and it starts next week, but you can go stream that song and get into it.
And this psychological thriller is heading to the West End.
This is the first I've heard of it, so let me just read for you. Switzerland is set for a West End transfer. This is Joanna Murray Smith's psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. It will be at London's Ambassador Theatre. It was at Theatre Royal Bath. It begins November 10th, opens November 19th. Lucy Bailey will direct. Phyllis Logan and Callum Finlay reprise their celebrated performances as Patricia Highsmith and Edward Ridgway, respectively. This is about...
You just have to say Matt Damon, though. Let's get to the point.
Okay, go on.
Who is Patricia Highsmith? She wrote The Talented Mr. Ripley.
And many other
So just think
thrillers.
of that. That's why you might be interested in this.
You might be interested.
I mean, she wrote a lot of great thrillers,
It's
right?
called Switzerland. Check it out.
It's a play about her.
And a ton of our favorite Broadway stars are headlining this new concert series.
Broadway at, it's like the at sign is actually what this is called, the Broadway at series. At Town Hall, they are Audra McDonald. Hey, we've missed her.
I love her. Six-time Tony winner.
Good to see her again. 6-time Tony winner. She has signed on, and so has Jeremy Jordan. Who else? Kelly O'Hara. This is a new series hosted by Seth Rudetsky of Sirius XM fame or YouTube notoriety, whatever you want. Anyway, the first one is December 12th at 8 p.m. at Town Hall.
November 12th.
Is that? Oh, I'm sorry, November 12th. And that's Audra, right? Audra's first. She's kicking it off. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. And for this Broadway favorite, it's going to be a very beautiful night.
So, guess who's joining the cast of Beautiful? We knew. Kate Reinders is back on the Broadway. We love her, don't we?
She's coming in here soon, isn't
Next
she?
week.
I hope so. She's taking on the
Spoiler.
role of Cynthia Weil, which we knew. She's replaced Carol Lindsay, who played her final performance on October 14th. She's been in a lot of Broadway shows. She's pretty fancy. She's blonde, and she's fun. I'm going to get out of
I didn't realize
here.
how many Glindas are doing this.
There are a lot of Glindas playing Cynthia
Weil.
Weil.
Glinda. It's a
It must be a vocal
thing.
range thing. I don't know. The personalities are not
A
quite the
blonde
same.
thing.
Hey, by the way, did we mention it's Wicked Month?
Oh,
We went one day without mentioning.
one short day. We almost got away.
Oh.
No. There you go.
Good.
You're welcome, everybody.
We have some exciting Wicked content coming up. So get into it. Just wait. There's
Just
nothing
wait.
yet, but
Just wait. We have some wonderful guests.
We do.
that I think we should
Okay,
get
Beth, thank you. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank
Any
you.
theater going?
Oh, yes. I'm
Okay.
seeing the Waverly Gallery in just a few short hours.
Oh, have fun.
Thank you.
Say hi to, what's her name?
Elaine May.
Elaine May.
I will.
Hey, Caitlin, can you tell everyone about today's guests?
Yes. Guys, we have some really awesome guests here today. We have John D'Agata and Jim Fingal. They, of course, are the people who inspired the brand new Broadway play, The Lifespan of a Fact, that just opened last night. And that stars Cherry Jones, Bobby Cannavale, and Daniel Radcliffe. Let me tell you a little bit about this in case you didn't already know. So John D'Agata wrote an essay in 2003, and then it was fact-checked by Jim Fingal, and a lot happened, and then they wrote a book about it in 2012, and everyone loved it. It even became an editor's choice from the New York Times Book Review, so it's very fancy. And they're here today to tell us all about their road to that, how they came to Broadway. Be sure to follow the show at Lifespan of a Fact on all social media to keep up with the show and learn more about all the exciting news that it has to offer. Leave all of your questions in the comments down below, and please welcome John, Jim, and Paul.
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the studio audience today. We love that. Welcome to Broadway.
Thanks.
I bet you didn't see this coming.
I knew from the beginning as an unpaid intern that this would be the destination of this fact-checking piece. I'm glad that it's been finally realized.
But let me just get this out of the way. Last night was opening night. Did
Yeah.
you go? Did you attend the festivities? Have you been out all night? What's happening?
Yeah, it was my first time seeing the play.
Oh,
so
wow.
I let it be a surprise. I hadn't read the script. I'd seen one scene a few months ago, I guess in August. So it was fun. You'd seen it before.
Yeah, I've seen it 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And I love it.
Yeah.
It was a thrill, though, to see what an opening night is all about, and
Yeah.
go to the party and see some celebrities.
People
and,
say happy opening night.
happy opening night.
Very much an
yeah.
outsider, so
Yeah.
like when celebrities come, wasn't expecting that.
Right.
Any exciting celebrities besides the ones starring in your play, who are pretty fantastic?
I had a good long chat with Dan's parents. That was
Oh.
fun.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
But also some folks from Leah Delaria was there.
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Cool.
I saw Mark Cuban
Oh, wow.
and Billy Crudup.
Crudup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like him, even though I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But I think he's cool.
I love this book so much. First of all, I love the design of it. I mean, this is such a cool.
Jim
You
designed
it?
Yeah, I did the
Oh
original.
wow, it's so cool. I mean, like, I'm a
conceptual
real
layout.
design person, so I like really appreciate it on a whole other level because of that. And as an editor, we love red marks. Red marks are fun.
Yeah.
This book came out like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
2012.
So let's take it back a little bit. When did you first? So obviously now we are being presented with a play that's about you. So and I'm assuming you didn't fact check the play, or did you fact check the play? Did you go through with a red marker and say, well, that's not really how that happened? And
No.
I mean, obviously, dramatic liberty is taken a bit. It is set in a handful of days, I think, the play. Whereas your actual journey of fact-checking this essay was many years.
Yeah, well, I think it took on. I mean, it's had many different lives. There was an original fact-checking period with the magazine that was maybe 6 months. I think after that, it got forked into the path it took with the magazine. That there were multiple drafts and conceptualizations of what would happen. Ultimately, getting published in 2010, and then around the same time, we decided to develop it into a book. And did that over correspondence. I think we had a draft in 2007, but it came out in 2012. So had a lot of time to tinker on it over the years.
So John, this is your essay, which was it's all started about suicide in Las Vegas. That was sort of the original topic you were dealing with. It sounds crazy for people who aren't in journalists or writers or fact checkers to think about something taking all this time. But you were really looking for a place for this essay to land, to be published. And this is really just sort of a journey to publication. So like when you say it took many years, it's not, you weren't like talking every day
Yeah, it wasn't
for these
full-time.
years. It was obviously sort of a casual back and forth.
Right. It took years off and on. There are times when we actually put it aside and thought, this isn't going to happen. And then I would get inspired, or an editor would take interest and think that they could run the essay, and then we'd get back on the horse and try to figure it out. So it was off and on.
It sounds very dramatic to say that we worked on it for 5 or 7 years, but in some ways it was anti-dramatic in the sense that it was in a computer file or on a shelf for a lot of that, and there were fits and starts. There were multiple versions of it. I think as John said, there were periods of intense activity when we wanted a new draft to show someone, and then obviously when Norton decided to publish it, I think we went back and got it into its fighting weight for that.
And so the basic discussion of the book and the play is the debate between John, or Bobby Cannavale, by the way, is playing. How's it feel to have these famous guys playing you? First of all, did you get to approve which star gets to play me?
We didn't. I'm very happy with Bobby, though.
Yeah.
They could have found someone slightly better looking, but no, I'm kidding. No, I think he's a dream.
Right, and Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Have you thought of yourself as a Daniel Radcliffe type in the past?
I haven't. No. I mean, obviously, I'm familiar with his work. I haven't read the Harry Potter books. I think I've seen one of the movies. So in some ways, it's like when people ask me if it's a surreal experience having him play me, it's like there's a remove, because I acknowledge that he's very famous, but he's not someone I personally had that sort of relationship with. I've seen others around me. My sister is very into Harry Potter, so I get to experience the weirdness through other people's eyes in a way.
You both look good with facial hair, so that's kind of something.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, he grew it out. I think after meeting me a few months ago, decided it was good luck.
But in the story, it's really about how would you describe the debate? The emotional truths of your essay versus the hard facts that you're looking for as a fact checker, and where are you, the two of you now? Did the journey of creating this piece together and then creating this piece together, did it make you sort of see each other's viewpoints differently, or where are we at with this debate, and what are we really dealing with?
I think Jim and I probably are in the same place in a lot of ways in terms of facts versus art, or facts versus whatever the other side is. It's a tough question to answer, because
There's some unpacking.
what I actually love about the play is that I don't think as audience members we're allowed to leave landing on one side or
Right.
another. You leave seeing John's point, and you see Jim's point. You see the point of the editor, or the predicament of the editor, and no one's a hero and no one's a villain. They're just really human, and they're trying to grapple with a question that we happen to be grappling with in the U.S. at the moment.
Right. So you obviously knew you were dealing with something extremely more timely now than when the book came out. Fair to say.
Unfortunately, it keeps being timely. But yeah, I mean, part of the question of whether or not how we fall on the facts. I mean, the book itself, ultimately, I think ends up being this exploration, this discussion about literary genre, and what rules apply to different genres, what obligation you have to signal people that a piece of writing is journalism versus literary essay versus memoir, and prepare them for that experience. Why do people react so emotionally when something like Million Little Pieces, which they thought was factual, turns out to not have been, when they wouldn't have if it was presented to them in a different way. So that the essay and the book mines that question. So in some ways, it's less of a debate about should you have the facts right or not, and more what do you owe readers in terms of preparing them for experiences. Because I think we both agree that in the rules of journalistic integrity, and that those rules do and should apply to reporting in the newspapers and in certain magazines, but that there's also a place for other kinds of writing. But I think the book and the essay lives in this uncomfortable zone of part of the literary effect of the essay is in taking on this form of journalism and leading readers down a path that ultimately within the text undercuts itself and says this isn't journalism. All of these things that I believe are not really true. But in living in that uncomfortable area, I think it becomes like a lightning rod in some sense, and I think we've been struck a few times.
In other words, I think this is a very nerdy story about literary essays that Broadway has been itching for.
How did you find out that somebody wanted to make a play? Or I guess actually 3 writers wrote the play, which is interesting. How did you find that out, and were you surprised, or were you sort of thinking about the book taking on another form? Were you talking to big Hollywood producers about it, or like what?
Jim and I were at a bookstore giving a reading at the end of our book tour.
McNally Jackson?
6 years ago, McNally Jackson here in New York. And a gentleman came up to us, I'm not sure he introduced himself, and said, this would make a great play. And by that time, there had been so much nonsense surrounding the book that I didn't ignore him, but I said, thank you very much.
What do you mean by that, by the nonsense?
Well, the book was fairly controversial when it came out. It attracted a lot of attention and a lot of anger from journalists who thought just as Jim said, who thought we were proclaiming that journalists should just be willy-nilly with facts, when in fact it claims the opposite, that there's a difference between journalism and essays. So we got some kickback for that, and I think we're kind of tired by the end of the book tour.
Right.
So a gentleman came up to us and said, this should be a play. And I think we just said, oh, that's a ridiculous idea. Thank you very much. And moved on and kept signing books. And then I believe the very next day he tracked down my agent. We share an agent. And it turned out it was Norman Twain, the producer, who made an offer on the book, and I think within a month or so we had a contract. And then after Norm passed away, I think 2 years ago, his friend Jeffrey Richards picked it up, and partly in tribute to him, beautiful tribute to him, followed through, and here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
But not a musical. That would have been pushing it. Maybe.
It's funny that in some of the reporting, I think I've seen either tweets or pieces refer to it as a musical. So it's fun to get to fact check whether or not my name is John Fingal or whether or not it's a musical.
I saw someone sent me the image of Dan Radcliffe holding a dog somewhere on Instagram for an ad for like the ASPCA or something. And the comments, it's just loaded with comments from people saying, "Is this John D'Agata's famous dog Boeing?" And other people saying, "It must be." And it's not my dog. I don't know whose dog that is, and he doesn't play me in the play, so I don't know why.
Wait, who races greyhounds?
We have my wife and I have adopted a number of retired racing greyhounds.
I know, I saw the picture. They look
Best
beautiful.
best kind of dog.
Aw.
Very lazy. I know I
tired
shouldn't
from
say
all that
best
racing.
kind of dog.
My
when you're-
dog's the best kind of dog. But the dog Dan was holding wasn't even a greyhound.
Well, greyhounds are. I think our greyhound is 70 pounds. It'd be hard to.
Yeah.
You can hold her, but very difficult. She doesn't like it.
So tell me a little bit about your lives outside of this. So, John, you're a professor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I teach at the University of Iowa. I teach creative writing and live with a beautiful dog named Boeing,
I've heard of your
who
famous
deserves
dog.
to be on Instagram with Dan, but Dan
You
picked
need to
someone
get on
else.
the gram.
Yeah, I guess so.
And what about you, Jim? How do you spend your days?
Yeah, so I'm the head of engineering for a healthcare technology startup, and also help run a small magazine called Logic, which is a print magazine about technology, the nonfiction essays, interviews that kind of inspired by actually working and being around small magazines like N+1 or Paris Review or seeing magazines like that get so many things right and really loving that form of conversation, but also seeing a gap in that sort of conversation about technology and many of us English majors or literature majors living in San Francisco, but working for software companies. Found ourselves in an interesting niche, and a few years ago just decided let's do it. So we're on issue 6 now.
Cool.
And it's really good. The magazine. Sorry,
Well, I
my
think you
phone.
could spend a lot of time going from like regional theater to regional theater after the Broadway run. This play is going to be people are going to produce this play all over the place.
Cool.
So you could be watching versions of yourselves for the rest of your lives. It's like it could be a side hobby to all this. Hey, Caitlin.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do we have out there?
Yeah, sure thing. So one question is, how did you guys decide to take your experience with the original essay back in 2003 and then turn that into the book that was released in 2012?
And did you immediately think, wow, this is such a fascinating discussion we're having. Let's share this with the world. Like, what was the...
How did that come about?
When the magazine was trying to figure out how to run the essay, and the notations that would be necessary for it to still be legit for a reader, one editor, I recall, suggested that they could run the essay with Jim's fact-checking notes as footnotes, or maybe running dialogue or something, and that was eventually dismissed. But I wrote to Jim because I loved that idea and said, because we had gotten to know each other, and I think we're having fun while we were fact-checking, and said, this could possibly be a book if we could figure out how to make it work visually. I think that our conversation and the essay that the conversation's about could be really cool. And then Jim just went away for a really short period of time and came back with this
Oh, wow.
gorgeous design.
Wow.
Really, it was like a week. It was very quick.
I was an unpaid intern I was on the 5 DVD Netflix plan. I had a lot of spare time watching a couple movies a night. So this is my, and pretty straight out of college, and just excited to have the opportunity to work on a project like this,
really
which
cool.
combines it's funny that now Jim Fingal has become this emblematic fact checker, but I had no particular training. I was I think you used the metaphor of in the well of interns that get scooped up, and I ended up working on and enjoying becoming an expert in a particular topic. But I was learning how to do it while I I did it, and it scratched a particular itch of research and obsessiveness and maybe pedanticness that that I had in my brain, and so the opportunity to expand upon that and show this complicated process and to dramatize it and give ourselves the opportunity to let our hair down and John play up his inner diva and me play up my my inner needler was a lot of fun.
So are you comfortable watching it played up, like with actors? Is it like, did it take time to get used to that? To watch somebody performing? I mean, I haven't met that many people that have become, I met Frankie Valli briefly, that have become characters. I haven't met Cher yet. But, you know, like now it's you two. And is that an odd, or was that just sort of very easy for you to accept?
It's easy. I think it was easy because once we decided to turn this into a book, in order to make our really nerdy discussions interesting for readers, we amped up those discussions. So as Jim said, I became a diva and a bit of an ass, and Jim became, what did you call yourself, pedantic, and also a bit of an ass.
Yeah, definitely. I reread it. I'm very unlikable. I was led to believe that I was the hero, but I'm
so
not very nice.
we were naturally at a remove from the book and the characters in the book. So now I don't. Jim should answer differently or his own way, but when I see Bobby being John, I don't see myself. I just see a really cool character or an interesting character. The only weird thing for me is just constantly hearing my name and then seeing someone different
Yeah, I
on
think
stage.
I mean, the only thing that's really recognizable on the stage, other than people saying our full names a few times, which is very enjoyable, I'm sure my mom appreciates that, is the text that we were so obsessively close to for a long time. So in some ways that is stranger than seeing someone play a fictionalization of a fictionalization of me. Having famous actors say the lines that we had poured over and read and reread and read out loud at readings, that is more close to seeing myself on stage in some ways.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for
Thank
coming
you.
by. It's so cool to meet you. Everybody needs to see the lifespan of a practice at Studio 54, which, you know, used to be a nightclub.
Yeah.
Now it's a place to find out what these guys are up to. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Are you
You
staying in
too.
town? Or are you going home? Or you gonna
I'm
keep
seeing it
watching
again tonight. Family and friends will be there, so there'll be a block of 30 people.
Cool.
I'll get to
Oh my God.
watch my friends and family react to it. That'll be fun.
I will have a block of 4 people.
I love the blocks.
Love that.
Thank you so much. Hey, Caitlin, why don't you take us out?
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We are live at 5 every single day on Facebook. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts by typing in #live@5 and hitting that subscribe button. Be sure to tune in on Monday. We talk to Lorna Luft about her upcoming Feinstein's 54 Below solo shows.